Hello and welcome to Don't Be M.I.A. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I'm welcomed with Joaquin Ortiz.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
So Joaquin is an entrepreneur, and amongst many other things, I feel like the titles don't even work in this case because he has dipped in toes in so many waters. So thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
So excited to talk about you, all your endeavors, and all your businesses.
Thank you.
So first, I'd love to get a little introduction from you, and then after we can do a little rapid fire about everything you're involved in, just to catch with our listeners up to speed.
Okay. I think you said it right. I'm an entrepreneur. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur from a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
Both my parents were entrepreneurs, and when I was in fourth grade, I snuck into the garage of my parents' house, and they were in the crystal business. They had like jewelry, crystals, and stuff like that. And I saw a pack of gold-plated necklaces. And so I took that gold-plated pack of necklaces out, and I went to elementary school, and I started selling them for like $1 and $2 to like all the kids for their lunch money. And a week later, I had made like $35-40, which is a lot for a fourth grader.
Yeah.
And so the following week, all the kids are wearing their gold necklaces in around school, and I get called in the principal's office, and my mom is there, and the principal's office is, and all my necklaces there, and then they ask for all my money back. And like in my head, that was just like thought of like, okay, I see an opportunity to make money. I see an opportunity to be an entrepreneur. And so at a very young age, that was kind of like the path that I was always on. And I think my parents saw that, and they just kind of continue to cultivate that in me. And so here I am as a grown adult, and
wow.
I've got a few businesses.
That's a great story. Since day one, I guess.
Since day one.
Yeah,
since day one.
Innovation and drive.
Correct.
Wow. That's to think about all those little kids walking around with very nice jewelry.
I think it was like, the funny part about that is I think that out of nowhere, you just saw from one day to the next, or over the course of the week, like all these young kids with this like gold chain. Like, where are you getting? Oh, Joaquin sold them to me. Oh, wait, why do you have a gold chain? Oh, Joaquin sold that to me. And then all of a sudden, it's like, well, we can't have that. Like, we can't have this little kid running a running a business at school.
If you think about it, I guess the general outline of how that worked, the word of mouth, the little community, you've continued with that through your career.
Without question. Yeah.
So I guess that leads into some of the businesses and organizations. So first up, let's talk about Jealous Fork.
Okay. So Jealous Fork is ranked the 5th best pancake restaurant in the country by Travel and Leisure magazine. We're very grateful to have earned that. Thank you very much. We're a breakfast brunch kind of restaurant in West Kendall, and I didn't even know I was going to open that business. My business partner and we've been friends for about 16 years, and we were making pancakes one day at my house because we're just fans of pancakes. And I'm posting these photos on my Instagram, and I don't have a tremendous amount of followers. I'm kind of pretty a normal guy, but the likes and the comments compared to the amount of followers that I had was just like light bulb moment. Like, maybe we should open a pancake restaurant, And so the following week, Henrik, my partner, is on eBay, and he's like, hey, Joaquin, there's a food truck for sale here in Miami. And I'm like, a pancake food truck? Like, I jump online and I'm like, pancake food truck Miami, nothing. Pancake food truck Florida, nothing. Like, that one back. Pancake food truck United States, nothing. So we went the next week, bought the pancakes, and then after about 22 recipe attempts and moving forward, we launched, and we're the first pancake food truck in the United States. And that just kind of like exploded. We opened right before COVID. We opened in October of 2019, and we did really well. And then COVID hit, and we had to shut down. But then we had to pivot, and I think that COVID, no matter who you were as an owner or entrepreneur, COVID tested your ability to pivot. It tested your ability to manage your business.
Yeah.
And so we built a website, and we sold our raw pancake batter on our website. And that, for the next like 3 or 4 months, we were driving with like a huge white fishing cooler in the back of my truck from like North Broward all the way to the Keys, delivering quarts of pancake batter, like masks, gloves, like goggles, the whole thing, And that got us through COVID. And then Miami opened back up, and we didn't really know what was happening with COVID much. But we did know that being outside was better than being inside. And so that lent itself to a food truck. And so in 2021, we just exploded. We grew like 380%, and it was just amazing.
Yeah. Were there lines around the block?
There were, yeah. We would have these. That's actually how we got kicked out. That's actually how the food truck ended.
Oh, got kicked out. Oh no.
So yeah, the second highest guy in Dade County park system approached us one day and was like, look, you have a line that's like stretching 2 city blocks down the side of the road, and they're all parking on a wide shoulder. It wasn't like designated parking. It was like a wide shoulder, and they were okay when there were like 8 cars and maybe like 20 cars, but then there was like 60 cars, you know? And so that was a little bit dangerous for all those people to be walking up the side of the street. So they shut us down. We knew we wanted a restaurant, so we kind of like were going that way anyways. We were shut down for about 8 months while we built out the restaurant, and then 8 months later, we're good to go.
All those people came right back.
All those people came right back, thank God. And now we've been open just over a year and a half about, and it's been amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up, let's talk a little bit about Provider Lifestyle.
Okay. Provider Lifestyle was the first business that I started. My accountant was like, you're starting to make some money now. And I was in the restaurant industry. I was a restaurant manager. And he's like, you've got to figure out what to do with this money so we can save some money on your taxes. You should start a business. Like, oh, what am I going to do? I didn't really know what I wanted to do outside of just being a restaurant manager. And so I start this business called Provider. And I thought that like writing Provider on the front of a bunch of shirts would be like the way to go. I thought so many people would buy that. And that was just an epic fail. And I think that was so great because you have to learn from your failures. And unless you have, Justin Timberlake or, some famous Beyonce or someone wearing your shirt, it's hard to go somewhere with it. It's hard for it to like pick up the trend, especially like a pre-internet. Like this was,
I was going to say with social media as active.
No, this was 13 plus years ago. So it was really tough to, there was no Instagram, there was no TikTok, Snapchat, it didn't exist. And so that was a fail, but I quickly learned from one of the events that I was doing. One of the guests that came to purchase some of my clothing was like, these are really good quality. This print is really nice. I'd like you to print something for me. And that was that like light bulb moment. I'm like, oh my God, wait a second. I can probably make more money printing for other people than I can printing for myself. So fast forward 13 years, and now I'm printing for other people.
The custom.
I print for like small businesses, 5Ks, charity walks, doctors' offices, other small clothing brands that are trying to like come up on their own. So I've pivoted. You have to pivot, man. You can't you can't say, well, listen to me, I can't talk. You can't stay so stuck, right?
Yeah.
In what you want and let your ego like kind of feed it. You have to take yourself out of it and look kind of like almost from like the watcher's perspective of like your life and say like, is this the right path for me? Like, is this the right way to go? Like how much of my ego is built into this? And if I take my ego out of it, can I just look at it and be like, that's a bad idea. Like I have to pivot or I have to change or I just have to like cancel that idea completely.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Like, so
well,
wrapped up in
kept you afloat and now you're thriving.
Correct.
And to my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, so you have a nonprofit,
Correct.
Conscious Acts of Kindness.
Correct.
And is that in accordance with Provider Lifestyle?
So a percentage of all of the sales of Provider is donated to Conscious Acts of Kindness. And Conscious Acts, so the way Conscious Act of Kindness came about is that I realized I've always had a philanthropic kind of like vein in my body, and I've always wanted to help. I've always wanted to do more than what one single person can do. And so by kind of rallying the troops, you can get more done.
Yeah.
And I realized that instead of sitting across someone from a table and saying like, these children in Senegal, West Africa, they really need your help. Please donate some money. These are kids that, have to watch out being kidnapped and turned into sex slaves and, small armies at the age of 14 and 13 years old. Like we really like that, unfortunately doesn't raise money. However, saying that we're going to do a cornhole contest and the entrance to your team's cornhole contest is $35 and a percentage of that money is going to go to help children in Senegal, West Africa, lends itself way better to raising a large amount of money than sitting across from a table and like selling a sob story. Does that make sense? Like people are more about like having a fun event and knowing that what they're contributing to have that fun event is going to a great cause.
Yeah, they even feel involved in a way.
Correct. And so you can come up with anything, like we had an idea called Connect 4 charity, and it's a giant Connect 4 tournament. Oh. And so everyone loves Connect 4. It's a great game.
I love Connect 4.
Exactly,
yeah,
right?
It's great.
So if I tell you, $5 to come play a Connect 4 tournament and it's a charity fundraiser, okay, yeah, And then you're going to give me that $5 way faster than if I'm like, hey, there's some kids in Miami that are hungry. Can I have $5? You're like, no. Like, it's just the way the human mind works. And so conscious acts of kindness supports global causes with raising money through like fun events.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So I guess next up, can you tell me a little bit about Ether Group?
Ether Group. So ether, like in the ether, like, so if there's ether, there's like the essence of. Yep. And so Ether Group is kind of like the parent company that oversees a lot of my food and beverage concepts underneath, and it allows me to have like the gateway for creating the next thing. Is I can put that under the parent company, Ether Group. Wonderful. So Ether Group, yeah, it's like the umbrella.
Got it.
Yeah.
And last up, can you tell me about Tea and Poets?
Yeah, Tea and Poets. So if you have not been inside Tea and Poets, have you been inside Tea and Poets?
I have been inside Tea and Poets, and it was the most wonderful thing ever. Everyone should go inside Tea and Poets.
I agree. Thank you. So the inside of my head looks like, I was not the greatest kid. I grew up with divorced parents. I was like mad at my mom, and I was mad at my dad, and I wasn't like thrilled. So I rebelled, like most kids do. And I had a little bit of a tough adolescence, and I wish that I had somewhere like Tea and Poets to go to instead of doing dumb things in the street. And so I opened Tea and Poets because I wanted to give kids a place for them to go that was not doing things in the street that are silly. Like, bring kids of that kind of like, 14 to 20-year-old age into a community space where they feel welcome, where they feel loved, where they feel safe, where they feel like they can express themselves. And it has just exploded. In July, we'll be at 9 years, and in a mall that's really struggling. But we've been able to, surge on because of how amazing our support system is from that kind of like 14 to 25 demographic that come work from home, they come study, they hang out, they come to the open mic nights, their bands perform. Yeah. I mean, and it's really a beautiful staple in the community.
I think it's extremely notable, the aspect about Sunset. I mean, your Tea and Poets has continued to thrive and be successful. And I think in the South Florida community, it's been an ongoing discussion about what's going to happen with the mall. The stores are closing down, but not yours. It's continued to bring in a loyal customer base and continue to attract more. I mean, there's band nights, there's trivia night, you can get your tarot card reading, get coffee, matcha. I mean, you can walk in there, you can write your college essay. Correct. I mean, you can do anything you want in there. I think it exactly hit the mark about being a safe space. I mean, the couches, it's just a wonderful atmosphere.
Yeah, I think that, when we're teenagers into like our early 20s, we're really trying to figure out like who we are, our sense of self. And it's nice to be able to figure that out amongst a group of people that are going to accept you, because sometimes you don't know what's going on and you're troubled, and to be able to go on the stage at Tea and Poets and share a poem about something you're going through and have it be received so well. And then when you get off stage, people that you don't even know come up to you and they give you a hug and like, that was beautiful. Like, thank you for sharing that. They're like, you can't buy that. Like, that's magic. Yeah. And we cultivate that on a weekly basis. So I'm very grateful for that.
Amazing. Yeah. And I think I may have missed one more thing, your newest development, Keeno's Quest.
Yeah, Keeno's Quest. So my business partner in Keeno's Quest, Julian, he contacts me one day because I like to go out to eat. I'm in the industry, as you know. In the industry, we say industry is like hospitality industry. Yes. So I'm in the hospitality industry, and I would always do these like small, short, like Instagram videos of me reviewing like these hole in the walls. And he contacted me like, dude, okay, so my name is Joaquin, but if you know me closely, if you know me as like a friend or family for many years, you call me Keeno. So, hey, Keeno, he's like, the last few videos that you put up, they're great. I really like them. Would you ever think about doing it like long form? I'm like, oh, dude, I'm not an influencer. I can't stand that. Like, that's not who I am. I'm not a foodie. That's not who I am. And he's like, no, like long format, kind of like Anthony Bourdain style. Are you familiar with Anthony Bourdain? Yes. Is he before your time?
Yes.
Or, yeah?
No, I'm familiar.
Okay. So, and I'm like, well, okay, I can see that. Like, I can see that maybe there hasn't been someone to fill the gap of an Anthony Bourdain who has the background in the restaurant, hospitality, kitchen, chef industry, and then gives you an unbiased opinion and tells a story. And so we sat down and we really came up with an idea that I think clicks. And so now we try to produce really high quality YouTube videos that tell stories. So.
Yeah. Well, I was watching some, prepare, do some research, and I loved them. And they were great. I think it will really take off.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying
that. We're excited to see where it goes.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now let's get into some questions. I think going off of this Keeno's Quest conversation, in one of your videos, you described that the key aspects to a meal include fat, salt, acid, heat, sweet.
There it is.
There it is. So it's a merging of worlds. So I would like to ask you, what aspects and traits make up who you are?
Oh, wow. What aspects and traits make up who I am? So I'd say, firstly, I know it's going to sound cliche, but like I'm a human being. And in that, I believe there's humility. And I think it's very important to understand that, like, as human beings, we kind of are lost. And especially with social media nowadays, we always present the things that make us look so good online. And I think it's not healthy. I think it's not right. But it just kind of is the culture we're in right now. So firstly, like, I am an imperfect human being. I'm a human being that doesn't have his stuff together. I'm an human being that isn't always walking the same path, and that's failed numerous times. And I think that the more that I embrace my imperfections, the more that I embrace the fact that, like, hey, I don't always have it right, the more genuine I hope to come across. And I think that, I watched a YouTube video just the other day where a guy was walking around, like, interviewing people, and he's asking a guy, like, how much is your outfit? Like, what do you do for a living? How much is that watch? Like, wait a second. Like, why are we asking that? What about, like, what have you done for the world? What was something philanthropic that you've done this week? Have you taught someone something? Like, instead we just want to consume this, like, materialistic kind of content. And so I'm a talker, so I apologize. I'm going to deviate from your question a little bit. But so, like, first on this, I'm a human being, right? And I'm a human being that recognizes that I'm, like, not perfect. And on top of that, I'm an adrenaline junkie. Like, I love adrenaline. I love doing crazy things. I love, like, we have a Keeno's Quest episode that's going to release in a couple weeks where I like do backflips off this, like, 35-foot dam and, like, do all these, like, crazy things. And I've swam with sharks, and I want to do a future episode where I'm gonna, like, wrestle alligators. Like, just this weird, like, I'm an adrenaline junkie. I love the feeling of adrenaline. I love how it hits. I love how I, like, get fueled by it. A lot of that I feel in the kitchen as well. I'm a husband. I have an amazing wife, Karina, that we've been married for 5 years, and I'm a brother and a son, and it's complex, I think like humans are like diamonds, we have so many different facets, and also onions, if I'm going to take a page out of Shrek, So I'm ever evolving, I'm always willing to evolve and learn and change.
Yeah. I mean, a good meal, I think you might know this, it's hard to get the perfect recipe, all the ingredients hitting. I mean, same with humans. As I was watching your videos, I was noticing more and more similarities between, like, the way you were describing a good meal or a good atmosphere with, like, human connection, or looking for, traits in people and stuff. I'm sure you can draw those connections between 100%. Your experiences. And I guess that kind of goes into the following question I have, which is that you went to a formal culinary institution, school, and then you worked in kitchens, trained with Michelin star chefs, and then you pivoted into your own businesses that kind of deviated from the famous diligence-like kitchen, very fancy, very formal. And Tea and Poets is more of, and Just Work is like a safe haven, community-based, familial. How did you take that experience in the kitchen that I'm sure was more, like, not cutthroat, militant, as you say, and then change it into a completely different vibe?
So, I mean, it just goes back to, like, we're not all one way, right? And so, yes, my training is formal culinary school. I've worked with 2 Michelin star chefs. I've worked under James Beard, best chefs in the United States. I've worked in this, like, very strict, formal way. And that was wonderful as an employee. That taught me so much. Like, I don't remember any of my 20s, like, unfortunately. And not because I was, what's the best way to say that? I worked so hard in my 20s that I don't remember going out and partying and doing things like 20-year-old kids do. I worked Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, whatever. Like I worked. And so after you go through that, in my head, I guess that clicked that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? So I went through all this stuff, and then I was like, okay, I want to become a business owner. I want to like make that transition. So I was able to take all of the experience that I've had from these great restaurants, opening at that time maybe like 10 or 12 different restaurants, and then bring it into my own. Now, Tea and Poets in a way is meant to be just this really warm, fuzzy feeling, right? And it's colorful and it's bright and it's welcoming. So you can't really do that in this like traditional, you know, Michelin star, fancy fine dining atmosphere. So it would never have gone that way. But we do implement quality, and like you don't need to be stuffy to provide quality. The teas can be fantastic quality. The service can be fantastic quality. It doesn't take, you know, a Michelin star restaurant to say hello, welcome. You know, and so when everyone walks into Tea and Poets, it's always hello, welcome, you know, and or thank you, goodbye, and coming out from behind the counter where we serve the tea and clearing the dirty cups, you know, like that's not a step of service that fine dining does. That's just humanity. Being kind is just the way people should be, in my opinion.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I feel like those skills can be applicable in any sort of restaurant.
Any sort of restaurant.
And you seem to carry that with you in everything you do. I mean, I know we were talking before the camera started rolling about your love for travel. I mean, this experience with food, it's all about the connection you can make with the customer and the human.
Correct.
How does that translate while you're traveling?
Oh, wow. So yeah, I think that first when you travel, you have to recognize, again, like as the watcher, I love to talk about the watcher, like pull yourself out of your own eyes and be the watcher, like watch yourself. And so when you travel, you want to take yourself out and say, do I look vulnerable? Do I look like a victim? Do I look like someone who can be taken advantage of at this moment? Am I being a smart traveler? You know, do I have my passport dangling around my neck? Is my cell phone sitting on my hip? Like, you know, is my backpack open? When you walk through a crowd, take your backpack and turn it to the front. Put your backpack on the front of you. You know, don't have it in the back. Like, just be aware of yourselves in like these small situations. And so that's for your safety. Now, on the second hand, if you walk through places looking scared, looking like someone's going to hurt you, looking like you're worried, you're cautious, people are going to feed on that energy. And so if you walk through X street in whatever country with an open heart, with a smile, and greet people and wave at people and like engage in a healthy way, the chances of you know, you being well received are very high. And so yeah, I definitely lead with an open heart and with like this kind of like energy of kindness and appreciation and compassion whenever I go travel.
Yeah, and I don't even think it can just be for traveling. I mean, just through watching your videos, especially there was one, you guys should go watch it, when you're in Calle Ocho, and you spent the whole video, became friends with a man on the street, you got food, you're rolling cigars with him, hearing about his life story. I mean, I feel like most people can't find that connection and sit through 5 meals with someone and converse on that level. I think the ability to just truly connect with people, it can like serve you no matter what in the business, career, and just in these videos as well. I
agree. I one of my life philosophies is to ask 3 times more questions than you answer. You know, and obviously this is an interview, so it's a little bit different, right? But, you know, when I go out, I would much rather ask questions and listen and learn than be so excited to talk about myself. So if I'm willing to ask 3 and answer 1, I feel like I'm in a really great space to learn and listen and care. And don't just ask a question so that you can be like, oh yeah, well, me too. Well, you know, like ask a question and then like listen, take a few seconds to like let what that person just said like sink in and digest it, and see if there's a way you can learn about it and then add value to the conversation versus just be like, oh, well, you know, I bought a brand new car. Like, come on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Make sure you're really, really listening.
Yeah. Make sure you're really listening. Like add substance to the conversation.
So while you're talking to customers in your restaurants in Miami, what have you learned about the city that you otherwise wouldn't have known just by being like a citizen or someone who lives here?
Oh, you're good. You're loaded with the good questions, huh? I think that the biggest challenge with Miami people is that they are very excited to tell you where they're from or where they're going.
Yes.
Like they haven't like committed to just being here. And I think we need more people to commit to being here in Miami, because once you say, okay, you know what, I'm a Miamian, then you say, well, now that I'm like officially living in the city and I've owned it, how can I make the city the best? And so instead you have some, oh, well, where I'm from, it's like this. Oh, where I'm from, it's like this. Or like, oh, this city sucks. I can't wait to move to here. And so you're always talking about not being here, but be here and own that you're here. And then once you recognize that, like figure out what you can do to make here the best. So I've learned that a lot of people want to talk about where they're from and where they're going instead of owning being here.
Yes. So
being a part of the community.
Yeah. So many people here aren't from here. I mean, Miami is just a big mix of a lot of different people from a lot of different places, which I think adds so much value and it makes it so
without
unique.
Question.
But I definitely, I mean, developing the city, making it the best it can be, you have to make a commitment to that. Yeah, most definitely. So I was wondering, as the big foodie you are, what your favorite food is, or food to eat and to cook. I think those are two different things.
It is. They are very two different things. So we, chefs and the restaurant, I don't know. Have you seen The Bear yet? Seen The Bear?
Oh, I've watched enough to understand a little bit of insight into the cooking world.
There's a fantastic part. I think it's season 1, episode 3 or episode 4, where Carmy finishes cooking all day and he comes home, he has a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And like, that is so accurate into like chefs and cooks, is that you work and you can cook all this amazing food the entire day. When you get home, you want a bowl of cereal, you want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you want the simplest thing. And so if I am cooking just for myself, it is so simple. I'll make a sandwich. I'll do a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I like soup. I love making soup. I love to buy like just a whole chicken. I stick in a pot, carrots, onions, celery, water, and I'll season it up and I'll just let it boil away. And I'll throw some, pasta in at the end there. I like simple, humble food for myself. Now, my wife is super healthy, so I'm usually cooking like very healthy for her. She loves beets. I like to roast off some beets. We do like a lot of like roasted fish in the oven. Vegetables. We'll do steamed vegetables, saute vegetables. So she eats a very like clean, healthy diet. So when I'm cooking for us dinner, it's definitely more like clean, healthy. I love ceviche. I'm a huge fan of ceviche. Growing up in Los Angeles, I learned like the Mexican style ceviche, and then over here I learned a little bit more like the Peruvian style ceviche. So my style is actually a combination of the two, and so I'm a big fan of ceviche. I got cast on a couple cooking shows that didn't follow all the way through because of opening the restaurants and timings. And one of the questions was, what was my favorite ingredient? And my favorite ingredient was salt. I just love salt. I think salt is amazing. I think that salt is so diverse and so unique. And this isn't like the iodized like table salt that you see, right? That like Morton's, like it's not that. Like most countries have a really unique salt that's, specific to that country, whether it's a Hawaiian salt, a Himalayan salt. They're the smoked salts, Florida salts. There's so many different salts, and salts can really represent a dish in a really beautiful way. So
yeah, wonderful. I mean, and historically, salts, they played such a role in preserving things, or artifacts, culture. I mean, salt. That's a great answer. Yeah,
thank you.
And also, just for the record, these simple meals sound still way more delicious than the average person. It sounds wonderful.
Thank you.
And I guess to wrap up, is there any exciting projects, initiatives, things you're working on? Or, I mean, you very much have your plate full right now, but is there anything next? And if not, it's okay to just be in the moment.
Now it's definitely Keeno's Quest is the main, the main direction that we're going. We're only 6 weeks in, but we have, we finished season 1 already, which is going to be 10 episodes. And then we're now filming season 2, which will be another 10 episodes. And we're trying to treat this kind of like a Netflix or a, like a Hulu, Amazon Prime kind of thing where you sit down on the couch and you watch it on TV as opposed to on your phone or your tablet. Like we want it to feel like a show.
Yeah.
And so that's the goal. So I have so many other things that are like on the back burner. To answer that question, I could definitely answer that question.
Guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, you have to wait and see. Let's go with that direction. You have to wait and see. So.
Well, we'll stay tuned in. Everyone follow on all the socials. I'll be tagged below. Thank you so much for coming on.
So nice to have. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate that.
Don't be M.I.A. All these businesses, all these endeavors, organizations, they're giving back to the community. They're making Miami part of the city what it is, and continuing to make it grow. It's all just so wonderful. So it's just it's just the perfect thing to come onto this episode and to bring back out into the city.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Bye.